The franchise Cartoon Network let die, Ben 10. Ben 10 was one of the shows, bro. If you had any type of childhood, literally any type of childhood, you know what Ben 10 was. If you didn't know about it, your friend asked you about it and told you to go watch it.
Cartoon Network's OG cartoons were unparalleled. Remember how chaotic and funny Ed and Eddie was? Or how scary Courage the Cowardly Dog was? This episode still gives me nightmares, by the way.
I need to rewatch Courage.
Boogeyman! Or the wild absurdity of Cow and
Oh my god, Cow and Chicken. That's elite, ball. What is it? Was this the one where it was Super Cow or Super Cow its own show?
Chicken? Nope. This show is disgusting. How the hell is the devil in a kid's show just casually? While all of these shows are amazing to look back on with fondness, a lot of it could be attributed to nostalgia. It's that strong feeling that can convince us a show was good, when in fact, it was probably just okay. However, I'd argue there's a show, nay, a franchise that has aged extremely well. A show that went on to have several spin-offs, infinite world building, and exceptional writing. It's what I'd like to call an anime disguised as a cartoon. This is the rise and fall of Ben 10. This video will have spoilers, by the way.
Like, bro, this shitty ass reboot right here, whoever did this needs to be found and done things to them you wouldn't think to do to other people.
Also, it has been a while since I've done a rewatch of all the shows, so some of my info and research may be a bit incorrect. Let me know down in the comments if I got anything wrong. With all that being said, let's go. It's no secret how profound an impact Ben 10 had on kids. The premise was so simple. A 10-year-old finds a cool watch that can transform him into 10 different aliens, hence the name Ben 10. Oh, and coincidentally, the kid's name is Ben Tennyson. You know, Ben later on makes fun of Kevin for how his name is Kevin Ethan Levin.
Your name is Kevin E. Levin? You just lost all remaining pretense of cool.
Your name is Ben. Look at the pot calling the kettle pitch black.
What a pillock.
The episodes were always engaging because of how cool each alien was. He had the aliens that every kid wanted the power of, like Heat Blast shooting fire, Accelerate with speed, and
bro, how do I tell you, this show had me slapping my wrist around the crib for like 10 minutes straight. My hand turned red, bro, and I'm black. That should say something. Like I would, and then if you guys have seen Alien Force, he would shout his aliens after he transformed, bro. Best believe I was yelling that shit in my crib.
Forearms being the powerhouse. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I always hated it when Gray Matter showed up. I always thought he was a jobber alien who did nothing useful. But you know,
I was a kid then, and apparently not a very bright one.
I couldn't grasp that Ben had an alien that used his intellect instead of his strength, like the other aliens.
But then we have Brainstorm, and it's like, oh, okay, if we're just talking about the original one, I guess there was no Brainstorm. Because ever since they introduced Brainstorm, I didn't see the use for Gray Matter.
Anywho, the show got by with Ben using the same 10 aliens, but that started to change. The world building got bigger and better. Ben miraculously transformed into a new alien, which, if I remember correctly, was Cannonbolt. I remember being so stoked at the idea of new aliens being in the Omnitrix. What got me so hooked though was Ghost Freak. This guy was a menace.
Oh my god, that was a scary episode. When he escaped the Omnitrix, it was like a horror episode, right? Wasn't it like a Halloween type of special?
I love the build up to the reveal that he was actually Zeskar, an alien that was trapped in the Omnitrix. I know a lot of people aren't that crazy about him, but his lore is too cool not to have at least some admiration. The characters were amazing too. Grandpa Max's development as he reveals that he was a plumber to the kids, Gwen learning magic, Kevin Levin being the original albedo, that he was in essence the first interpretation of an
Wait, what? Kevin was what?
The characters were amazing too. Grandpa Max's development as he reveals that he was a plumber to the kids, Gwen learning magic, Kevin Levin being the original albedo, that he
The original albedo? What does that even mean?
It was in essence the first interpretation of an evil Ben. Vilgax being this menacing force that always intimidated me as a kid, and so many more. Looking back at it now, the show was basically an anime. A young boy gets powers, has to save the world, has non-existent parents, mostly
This is, bro, I saw a post on Instagram that was like, Ben 10 should be animated by an anime studio. And I was like, bro, definitely, because just look at the plot, bro. Just literally look at the plot, the storyline. It's anime coded everywhere. And then like his parents don't care too. It's anime coded everywhere.
Until that last episode that I don't even think is even canon anymore. Crazy world building, sometimes insane foreshadowing, and flashy transformations. These are all just to name a few. and the tropes only get more as the series continues. They even played with time travel in the classic series, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll return to this when I get to the sequel shows. Leave a comment down below who your favorite Ben 10 aliens are and why. Also, please leave a like and subscribe while you're down there. Like I said previously, Ben 10 Classic had an immense impact on kids. However, not long after it ended, a sequel show arrived. Set 5 years after the original show, we got Ben 10 Alien Force. From the very first episode, you can tell that this is not the same show you grew up with. Colors were darker, the tone was more serious, Grandpa Max is missing, Ben hasn't worn the Omnitrix in years, and what the hell are these creepy looking squid monsters? And me, I was all for it. New aliens and new enemies, and building upon the original
absolute cinema.
Lore. This is how you do a sequel show. When Alien Force started, it wasn't afraid to actually experiment instead of just using the old concepts. Looking back now, how the hell did they have the balls to do some of this shit? Having completely new aliens that more or less function completely different than the previous.
And bro, and this is what I'm realizing. Like a lot of I don't want to say like entertainment industries in a way, and like directors or people who finance movies, I don't know what the fuck they're called. They don't want to take risks. I don't, bro. Whoever was running this, bro, they got it.
Ones, having Kevin become a good guy. On paper, this sounds extremely risky, and yet fans loved it. Why? Well, it's because this show recognizes that kids aren't going to be kids forever. Sure, it aired very soon after the original series ended, but it's one of those shows that adults could even appreciate. And yeah, there may have been fewer viewers in the classic series because, let's face it, kids see kid having powers, kid is happy. Oh yeah, Alien Force also brought with it one of the most talked about aliens to ever grace the fandom. I remember
Alien X
when the show first started airing, and when you watched the intro for the first few episodes, you could see this alien, but he was blacked out, kind of like a locked video game character. And so it was revealed that this alien is known as Alien X. How do I put this?
I'm a god.
The guy can literally do anything. He just has one major drawback. You see, when Ben enters his form, he has to argue with two different personalities, Bellicus and Serena. If these two and Ben do not come to a mutual agreement to execute a certain action, Ben would basically be stuck as Alien X forever. Honestly, I love the drawback they gave him. It made for interesting characters and made him very popular among the fan base. A bit too popular if you ask me. The show also brought forth possibly the best character in the franchise, Professor Paradox. The guy's a time walker who learned everything there is to know about space and time. Thinking about it now, if this guy wasn't created, Ultimate Alien and Omniverse would be completely different shows. Anyways, Ben was far more mature now. And yeah, it's not like 10-year-old Ben wasn't mature. Being a hero and saving lives is gonna come with some maturity. But he was still a kid, and he had this cocky and rash attitude. In Alien Force though, that wasn't nearly as present. Ben is more humble and more respectful.
Want some help?
You wanna help me? Go away.
Fine by me. No juice for you!
I'm like, what do you say fuck me for?
Well, you know everything I just said that was happening in Alien Force? In the third season, this all completely changed. After having defeated the hybrid invasion, Ben became cocky and arrogant. His character basically reverted back to his 10-year-old self, and if you were watching it religiously back then, you would notice.
That reminds me, I should get some kind of trophy case.
You are so full of yourself lately.
What's the big deal? I got here and I took out the bad guy for you.
This probably happened for two reasons. One, there's a change in the writing staff, and two, Cartoon Network did what any studio does when it wasn't reaching the high numbers of the predecessor. They told the new team to cater more to a younger audience, which resulted in these weird character changes and a more lighthearted tone akin to the original series. And this change was even more present in the show that came next. Before I continue, let me briefly talk about Gamer Subs. These guys have some
no free promo. This is my favorite one. Ultimate Alien Force. Ultimate Alien was my favorite Ben 10, followed by Omniverse, followed by I want to say Alien Force, then the original. I kind of have mixed feelings about it, but like it's not even like there's a big dip. They're all basically at the same spot.
Oh yeah, evolving to a new form. That's another anime trope to the list. Ben becomes famous, and this isn't really an issue, but the writers clearly took inspiration from Spider-Man with some of these characters and plot lines, and it fits too because Yuri Lowenthal voices both Ben and Spider-Man. Anyways, because he's famous now, he again leans more into his childish and cocky personality. Kevin also becomes evil again briefly, a story arc that had him absorbing Ben's Ultimatrix DNA because he had to defeat Agrigor. Remember this guy? Is he even canon anymore?
Oh, my Agrigor was so tough.
I'll get back to this. I guess you could say this entire plotline is again more rehashing of the classic series. As a kid, I didn't mind it, but now I can see it as a criticism. Then we got to the return of Ben 10,000. You see, back in the classic series, we had an episode where Ben and Gwen get transported to the future. They meet future Gwen, future Grandpa Max, and even the asshole that Ben would become. He's a bit of a hard ass, always focused on work and putting Max and Gwen second to his priorities.
I miss coming home and like just chilling and watching like Ben 10 regular show Adventure Time.
Eventually though, 10-year-old Ben gets through to him, and Ben 10,000 learns to stop being a dickhead. However, there was another episode to do with the future, called Ken 10, which was supposed to be our Ben's original future. Well, as you guessed, this future never came to pass. I assume the writers intended for this to be the future, but with the direction changing with UAF, this changed to this guy. Ken 10 Ben 10,000, I guess, is retconned into being a parallel timeline. Paradox also confirms that the future that Ben and Gwen saw in the classic series was also another timeline / universe. I won't get into the whole episode because there's just too much to explain and too many retcons. The main thing to take away is how a lot of the sequel shows' usage of time travel was built upon from this episode. Ultimate Alien had a controversial ending. Some people have a soft spot for the Esoterica arc, where this cult worships this Cthulhu monster named Dagon, who suspiciously looks like Vilgax. The original Vilgax then fuses with the guy, becoming this ultimate threat, leading to yet again another final showdown with Ben.
Is this the one where he says self-destruct? Some destruct code 00.
Only this time, Ben doesn't use the Omnitrix. He uses a sword called Ascalon, which was also created by Azimuth. This thing can basically warp reality. But shit, would you look at this? Vilgax in his ultimate form, Ben using a similar but completely different overpowered device. This is what all their encounters were leading up to. A final ultimate climax. The fight of the century. A fight that's gonna be talked about for years.
It was one hit. That nigga Vilgax got no death. Bro, you see, this is why it needs to be, because here's the one thing, right? Because like Benton had so many aliens, sometimes I feel like the choreography, the fight choreography was a little bit off. Bro, give Ben 10 to like the same studio that did Solo Leveling or even fucking Demon Slayer for all I care. And look at the like oh my god, or Mappa even. Nah, let's not do Mappa. Damn, them boys are overworked. God damn. But like Aniplex, like the people who do My Hero, right? I'm pretty sure. Bro, please.
Stabbed me.
And thus became the most forgettable final battle in the whole franchise, if you can even call it that. I did, however, like the ending, where Ben is tempted to use the sword, the Ultimatrix, and Dagon's power to get rid of all evil on Earth. The cost? Becoming a god. With the help of Gwen, Kevin, and Julie, he snaps out of it, and we get a nice quick montage sequence. We now get to Omniverse.
It's hero time.
Gwen leaves for college, taking Kevin with her, leaving Ben all alone, or so it would seem. Enter another goated character named Rook. So in essence, Ben 10 has now become a buddy cop show. Love the dynamic between these two characters. We do get cameos from Gwen and Kevin here and there, and we get some amazing concepts like the Nematrix and malware. But you see, Omniverse didn't just take place in the present. We also sometimes flash back to the past, to 11-year-old Ben. The show plays with non-linearity often, jumping back between these 2 points in time. But with that comes a great cost. Retcons and inconsistencies. Don't get me wrong,
bro. There was so after watching, I was so confused watching Omniverse. Like there was some stuff that just didn't make sense or didn't align because, bro, first off, they had done so many like time travel shits, not only in the original but in Alien Force and Ultimate Aliens. So I was like, what the hell?
Omniverse.
And they talk about feedback. Feedback wasn't the original Ben. We did not see feedback one time.
had some insanely sick concepts. The show had a full story arc dedicated to Feedback, supposedly one of Ben's favorite aliens when he was 11. But thanks to this evil upgrade-looking bastard called Malware, Feedback was killed and erased from the Omnitrix, leaving Ben distraught and depressed. We get a cool scene where present Ben and young Ben talk, metaphorically, where he forgives himself. This epiphanic moment leads to Feedback's return. But let's just pause here for a second. So you're meaning to tell me that Feedback was a new alien Ben got sometime after the classic series ended, but in Alien Force, there was no mention of him? Even with Chromosome practically having the same powers as Feedback, we didn't get a slight smile from Ben or even a mention? A simple answer, obviously, is that the writers hadn't thought of Feedback yet, which is normal. The writers have stated multiple times that they make up things as they go. But you see, there's a piece of headcanon among the fandom which I fully chose to believe. In Alien Force, it is stated that Ben had stopped using the Omnitrix for a while. We have never been given a reason for this though. The closest thing we have is how the writers originally intended for the loss of Feedback to be the reason he took off the watch. This was, however, changed and never implemented in the show. Personally, that is a great reason for him to put it down. It's a tragic loss for an 11-year-old to go through, and it segues perfectly into the more mature Ben we saw in Alien Force. You could also make the argument that the reason Feedback is never mentioned in UAF is because Ben blocked it out mentally, or just doesn't want to talk about it at all. But with this constant going back and forth between the past and present came a lot of timeline confusion and retcons, like how Kevin had come after Ben with a new amalgam form sometime after the classic series ended. Which leads me to question, what is the real reason for including 11-year-old Ben? You guessed it. Cartoon Network did not want to let go of classic Ben. After all, he's the iteration of the character that brought the IP its initial popularity. Kind of related to this, Omniverse had some really questionable aliens. What the is Blocks? You're telling me a Lego alien exists? Also, there was a portion of the series that
he's one of my favorite aliens in Omniverse.
Had this guy called Skurd attached to Ben, which gave him the ability to use some of his different alien powers while being in another form. As a kid, I just thought it was some cool thing, but looking back now, I can totally see the corporate side of things. Clearly, this was a way to get new toys on the market. However, this toy line apparently was cancelled. Omniverse also retconned Kevin's backstory, like a ridiculous amount. In Alien Force, it was retconned that Kevin's dad was a plumber who worked alongside Grandpa Max and was killed by this dude called Ragnarok. It was also revealed that Kevin is an Osmosian, an alien that can absorb power. While in Omniverse, it turns out that was a load of BS. There's this guy called Cervantes, a former plumber who conducted experiments on aliens and humans. One of these experiments was Kevin. So his entire
I swear I'm learning all of this right now. I don't even know what the hell is going on.
backstory involving his father, non-existent. His entire backstory of being an Osmosian, they aren't aliens, but apparently what Cervantes called mutants. So what, Agrigor was a mutant, not an alien? What about
fastest course to Osmos 5?
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck. Oh my.
Anywho, this is what happens when new writers come in with a new vision. Personally, it's not a huge deal, but I still think it would have made the show less retcon-y, and it would have flowed better with the previous series if they expanded upon the original lore. Omniverse's final arc had everything to do with time travel and the multiverse. This was our Spider-Verse.
Now, oh my god. Oh, let's not even, this was so peak. This fed generations. Oh my god, this fed generations. Yeah, bro. Oh my god, the people of this generation, all they know is that bum ass Ben 10 they just brought back. Bro, look at this. They don't know about this.
And Multiverse of Madness before the MCU shit on the concept. As a kid, I loved it. It was awesome to see Gwen 10 back and seeing Ben 10K, yes, a new version of Ben 10,000, which
like what
was also the reason for how Alien Fusions became canon. You guessed it, more toys. The Time War was a great story arc, having it end with another retcon, that Ben himself was the reason he got the Omnitrix in the first place. Oh yeah, this arc was also subtly foreshadowed back in Alien Force.
You saved the world dozens of times.
Hundreds, actually. In fact, on one occasion, you and I worked together to save the entire universe. Never mind.
Overall, the final arc had some ups and downs, but ultimately, I was satisfied. There's a lot I didn't get into about Omniverse, which I would love to dive further into. Let me know down below if you guys want that. And that's the story of Ben 10. Nothing else came after this. It was a complete package of 3 shows with a mostly coherent story that was never coming back.
I wish.
No.
the fuck is this?
I haven't seen the reboot series. I watched the first few episodes when it came out, but I lost interest pretty quickly. Ben is a kid again. The show is now more lighthearted in tone and clearly intended for a new generation of kids. I saw from a distance that some interesting concepts came into play, where Ben turns into Vilgax and how the original series somehow played a part. I haven't even seen this episode, but I assume it's more multiversal shenanigans.
It's the universe. We're in the space beyond.
Then what's that?
That is the next universe over. I don't like it at all. The physics are terribly counterintuitive.
After already experiencing a great story with the 3 shows, this change to a lighthearted tone was something that was of no interest to me. I assume this is because of the network wanting to gain more viewership and thus more money by catering to kids. And that's what I think ultimately caused the downfall of Ben 10. The inconsistent writing of Ben's character, the reboot series, and even some questionable omniverse inclusions are where the show was at its weakest. The reboot series, in my opinion, took a step back and no longer focused on evolving the franchise as a whole. But with all that being said, I can say
it should have just ended with the 3, bro. It should have just ended with the 3. I mean, if Alienverse, I say Alienverse, if Alien Force and Ultimate Aliens is one, we should have just ended with those 3. Oh my god, this alien was tough. He low-key scared me though.
Safely say that all of these shows,
Brainstorm, I think like his name is Shark Attack or something like that. Ripjaw, Cannonball, Jet Ray, Humongousaur, Alien X, Armadillo,
including and especially Ben 10 Classic, have aged extremely well. Sure, nostalgia is there, but I still believe the world building and lore were amazing regardless of that. Let me just end with this. There's one thing most fans want. A new show that would be incredible for the future of Ben 10. You like that? You like what I did there? Most of us want an Adult Swim show of Ben 10,000. Now hear me out. I know this whole put it on Adult Swim and have it be dark scenario has become really played out. But let me just give you a key example of why and how this could work. You remember Samurai Jack? This show had a great story with a compelling villain. The problem was it never had an ending. So in 2017, Genndy Tartakovsky came back and had the final season air on Adult Swim. Now, despite it having a rushed ending, studio execs stopped giving showrunners less time. The first few episodes are peak fiction. It's a lot more mature than the show ever was. There's blood, there's themes of depression and guilt. It was a natural evolution of the show because everyone who watched it was no longer a kid. I'm sorry, but having Jack kill a human and his psyche breaking because in the original show he only ever killed robots was amazing storytelling. So why shouldn't Ben 10 get the same treatment? You know, most fans who grew up with the show are all grown up now, right? We've seen almost everything the show can throw at us, except it taking a much more mature tone, much more mature than Alien Force ever was. Imagine having a story about Ben 10,000 much later in the future. But
bro, Ben 10,000, I don't think there'll be a story there because he's too over fucking powered. Like I think by Omniverse, was it in Omniverse? In Omniverse, he gets full control of Alien X. There's no plot. I'm sorry. Like, literally, he can solve anything with Alien X.
But he suffered major losses in his life, like Max, permanently this time, or even Kevin. We get a show that has Ben put in a position he's never been in before. I want this series to...
Oh, did he actually lose Max? Damn, that was the grandpa I never had, bro.
Come back, but as a natural evolution of the show. Ben 10 deserves to be remembered. It deserves something more. Please leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Do you guys want me to break down specific episodes in Ben 10? Leave some...
But I hope it gets that treatment. I'm not gonna lie, because I seen the post of an anime Ben 10 coming out, and I was like, bro, I don't know what, I don't know how they're gonna do it. I don't know which turn they're gonna take or which plot they're gonna follow. But if what he said is true and he really did lose Max and Kevin, we can really have a story of Ben just being alone. Have it be like a wanderer type of anime, a wandering OP type of anime. I can't think of an anime like that. Almost, it would be almost like an isekai, right? But it's not really an isekai though. He's just overpowered as shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's see.